be for either of these teams. And I think Dust2 is a scary place to be if you're INTZ, because this is where EnVy, I think, were able to tap into some of their other players' potential. Again, you know, you look at the ratings, and it very much has been JDM at the top of things. 1.15 for him across all these maps. Positive 26 on his kill death spread, but that's about where it stops. And when Sponge says that, you know, you'd hope it would be Nifty to step up on this map in particular, my eyes fall on Cutler, playing crucial roles over towards Long and Pit in unison with JDM. So let's see if that does end up happening. There's going to be no presence here as EnVy take up the T side. They've been afforded all the footing in the world because INTZ went for a curious little peek up middle. They didn't lose any bodies for it. Hell, they didn't take damage. But now the damage starts to sink in. We've got a couple of headshots, and both teams understand what's going down. But we do still have Drone all the way back in middle, coming up catwalk. He could just pincer these CTs. However, will he get there in time? Doesn't seem so. He's caught, popped, and Nifty drops 2 players off of his position. Then Kerrigan manages a headshot. I feel as though that entire round, we were just waiting for the kills to all come in, and it's a crescendo of frags as they finally fill the kill feed. Destiny down as the last, and it's EnVy's T side to kick off with pistol.
Extremely well handled at the end of the round. Really nice couple of kills there from Nifty with the P250, and there's maybe a new nickname in store for him with that, with those couple of kills. Really, really nicely done. Now for ENTZ, they kind of let it drop a little bit. Couple of good kills come out. Destiny picks one out of the air, jumping across the site. The bomb doesn't get planted right away. Drone's flank goes down, and so there was a 4v2 for a moment, and you'd think, okay, ENTZ are going to be able to pick this up, but EnVy stayed composed, and Nifty made a good rotate out of car as well to make that even more complicated for the 1v2 to go down. For EnVy to start here on the T side is obviously, I think, a bit better if they're going to be slow starters, as it was mentioned on the desk. They, on the T side, can worry less about their economy, and they'll have more chances to buy. And so if they do mess up a couple of rounds, then they can still go ahead, save one, and have every gun they want, especially if they nail a lot of bomb plants this round, or this game. On this round, we saw a long take. 5 players go out, and they did it so quickly that even though ENTZ went to check up on Cat, you saw them come back to try to pick up Long, but it came so fast that they weren't there in time, and Long was compromised, the site was compromised, and then the round ended. I think we have a bit of a tech timeout. It's JDM. It's kind of animated about something going on with his computer. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. This is not the player you want to get tilted on EnVy.
Right, no, of course. I mean, again, as we talk about, right, he has been the kind of top-tier performer, and this is a conversation I've been thinking about. When we have Nifty, who is obviously a very skilled player, and even though he's given up his role as the primary caller and the primary opper, I feel like in the server, we see him jumping onto that sniper as the secondary op quite frequently, and outside of the server, you know, just seeing this team, observing them in their you know, natural habitat, so to say, he does seem still very outspoken. You know, he's very actively participating in team discussions after the matches, making sure that, you know, his opinion is heard and that his ideas are implemented. So that's why you'd expect him to maybe be up there succeeding with JDM. My thoughts are, what if the key to EnVy is Kerrigan tapping into the potential of the older teammates in JDM and Cutler? That's something that I think we saw specifically here on Dust2 because they play near one another, they support each other, and Cutler's form has been rising as well. You know, if you were to ask me 6 months ago, compare Nifty versus Cutler, that's a very lopsided opinion. Nowadays, and in this team, this project at the same time, I've kind of cut them down the middle. You know, I know Nifty has crazy potential. We know that he has lots of experience with his run with Renegades. You know, he was calling for them. He had Kassad in his ear to help him develop and grow as a player too. That's a lot of responsibility that could help him elevate to new peaks. But Cutler, he's like a, you know, he's been holding his own and sitting in the back lines, and I think this could be his day to shine. I think this could be the system where it works.
It was a bit before your time, but there was Cutler, who played on Netcode Guides, is actually the best player on the team. Not even for just like a couple of months. I mean, he was just the best player on the team for a while, and then that form fell out for so long that we forgot that ever happened, and he also just moved into kind of a more supportive roles, I suppose, or just, I guess, took a backseat to some of the younger players that came in. But here has definitely been a really good anchor, and his aim is just on form, and is a key player on Dust2, as you mentioned. And as for Nifty, you know, you can take the player out of the IGL role, but you can't take the IGL out of the player. Ultimately, if somebody has really good input, you're going to hear from them. And it's very common for teams to have more than one person who's going to be vocal, who's going to have input. It's actually really important, I think, that there's kind of a secondary IGL in that sense on every team. Somebody who's smart enough to be able to call a full strat, who also just is emotionally available enough to like deal with other people and also be able to be self-reflective and can work on themselves as a player. And I think Nifty is that guy. Kerrigan has said that he is going to be leaning on him for that reason. And yeah, I mean, I think, you know, there's so much to be said about all these teams. And one kind of extended tech timeout to talk about it.
Yeah, so there was a game bug, so it seems. I don't know what that necessarily pertains to, but a game bug. They tried restarting the game.
Kind of vague.
Right, you know, what kind of disease are we talking about here? They restarted
the cold? Which of the 200 strands of the cold is it?
Restart didn't fix it, so it seems as though we're starting to get closer and closer towards the swapping.
Apparently they're super fast about it.
Of the computer. Yeah, they don't even...
Drone was saying that they would just bring in new computers. Just some guy would be like running in with a computer.
Runner.
As soon as it was an extended problem and they couldn't fix the game, or they had some issue with SSDs or the power or something like that, and there was a surge, they would just come out with a new computer, hot swap the SSDs, be ready and set to go. There have been a couple of pauses in the tournament, but they've been dealt with fairly quickly, and that's what's most important.
The team here for ESL is essentially just like you know, like an F1 pit stop team.
Right.
Guys coming in with radios. We've got reinforcements now showing up.
What does it sound like when they're on the radios?
I'm gonna need an extra computer here into the EnVy room. Over.
Yeah, they talk that fast. It's almost as fast as Tuna.
Yeah.
An auctioneer.
I mean, you know what? Here's the thing. Here's the beautiful thing about Stunna.
What's the beautiful thing about Stunna?
I think it boils down to the same thing with Chad. They'd make great commentators. You know, we've had that.
They have commentated.
I know, but regularly is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know?
No, that's true.
It's
they're awesome.
This makes me wonder. Can I do their job? Probably not.
Been on the desk? Have you not been on the desk before?
Have I been on the desk?
I think you have been on the desk once, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, on my first international LAN, Mountain Dew League Global Challenge.
They broke you in nice and early.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then they never asked me back.
We'll say that's because you're such a great commentator, you know. There was no reason to...
Yeah, let's sugarcoat it. Let's sugarcoat it, folks.
The confusion on the faces worries me. I'm not going to lie to you. So, we're not exactly sure how much time is remaining. IEM seem to be going back in potentially, but Nifty hasn't prepped his just yet. Oh, the sound-canceling headphones are coming on, folks.
Oh.
Well, they're about to turn the keys in the ignition.
That's what it sounds like.
And Nifty's got to push the start.
Back into the EnVy game.
Not bad. And the round restarted. You guys don't see it, I do. Coach is ready. He's back into pacing mode. He's going to be pulling his cord up and walking back and forth.
Just wait till the engine gets going.
Okay. You got something planned?
Well, I'm thinking about it.
Okay. Don't want to spoil anything. And Kerrigan, he's geared up, ready to go. I think we might switch scenes here, folks. Feeling good about this.
It's taking too long.
You're trying to time it, obviously, with the scene switches. I felt like it was ready.
I was.
The game is ready, it sounds like. Can we start that engine up again?
Hey,
here we go, folks. On the road.
Let's go, folks.
Perfect.
Maybe one too many coffees.
We did as good of a job as we possibly could do with that. Woo!
Let's go back into the action.
Into round 2, the anti-eco should be super exciting. 5 players from the CTs have crossed a B with a smoke and are now performing a trick. They're going upper B. One player's drifting back to mid. Could be a crunch here. Worst thing EnVy could do is take too much time. Their lower mid guy's also leaving. Could he get jumping up on Xbox? There's a train of CTs here about to leave the station.
And the frag grenade coming off of Yell could have been so perfectly timed. It does do a bunch of damage to the front side, just as Cello gets a single kill, but you know, missed it by just an inch. Those tagged up players never even had to deal with the flank. Instead, they rush forward. That one grenade tells them there's somebody here, and it was Yell. tucked away and dead. Only Zan to pick up a Galil and dip at a dodge. So EnVy convert it. You know, they were walking into a bit of a trap. At least what's nice to see in that round is INTZ had a play that effectively challenged exactly what EnVy were doing.
Sure, and it was good that EnVy didn't waste much time. They did work their way up cat somewhat slowly, but that's just a walk all the way. They didn't actually stop at any point. And then they just kept going, and when they got confirmation of all the CTs, well, then they turn tail and run at full speed. Drone goes out to get the last kill. 2 kills for INTZ this round, not a complete failure. And Drone goes ahead and upgrades the MAC-10 into the Galil. We've got 2 AKs recovered. 2 rebuys are about to come into effect for EnVy. And as for INTZ, they have all the guns they want. There's not going to be an op. That's what we were kind of trying to keep an eye on. KNG, second highest player rated, I think is behind Breeze, is what Sponge said,
yes.
in the minor.
Yep, exactly.
Has had insane impact. There was one map that we watched where he was off and they won. He had 8 kills and they won like 16-9 or something like that. So it goes to show you that the team is more than just him, even though he's playing so well. Destiny covered in the pit. It looks like not. And Cutler and Kerrigan combined for 2, destroying Long, dismantling it completely, and now moving up at full speed. They're here ready to cross. 2 smokes go out. Molotov on elevator, so they're not going to see any funky boosts. And it's the CTs who have already thought about saving. Because what else is there to do?
Not much at all. First gun round, and first gun's down. EnVy straight up. That was the kind of setup as well on Long that could have easily gone the other way. And just as you were touching on KNG being there in the top 8 of the minor in terms of rating, he doesn't have any teammates with him. You know, the only other person in the server currently that finds themselves at the top ratings of this minor is JDM in that 8th slot. So there is kind of this question mark, right, of KNG versus JDM. That's most notably what I'm looking towards.
Yeah, it's pretty sick they're going head-to-head.
Exactly. And then who else shows up? Who's going to be tapping into the potential? Because throughout the maps we've seen from these teams, which has been pretty plentiful, you know, there's been a few best of 3 series with them. It's not like NRG where we have a smaller sample size. We've seen Drone come into effect. We've seen Cutler on Dust2 particularly have great games. And you were just mentioning the Brazilians too. So it's always that great question as to who today, when it absolutely matters most. You know, there are no further chances. Both these teams having lost the single best of 3 they can afford here in the playoffs. This one's for all the marbles.
Drone basically scored the MOT with 1 round where he killed 3 players coming out the B tunnels versus a split that Team 1 had after such such an amazing comeback, to be honest. So he's somebody to watch. He's usually over on the B side. Not on the Z side, though, obviously. He's going to be the front runner, the entry man, the mechanical all-star. And on this round, there is an Xbox smoke, and KNG takes down Kerrigan as he's trying to run up for the 4-1. Bomb dropped left at Long. Smokes come out for the cross. 3 players in the CT scramble to make up ground, but it's a player with a pistol who is here primarily to defend.
Yeah, Cello's kind of been left behind. Everybody else is left, at least to give initial spacing to Team EnVy. Let's see what their retake plan is. They'll go 3 on catwalk, most of which with guns.
Around the halfway point, if they don't get kills, they should probably just forfeit this. They've got no retake nades, and they have no kits.
Yeah, it hasn't cost them anything yet either as well, so it wouldn't be too much of a shame to walk away. But here come the gun duels, and it's Drone and Cutler to pick up the initials. The boost on the elevator is not going to succeed in either throwing a player up or getting Cello out. So they attempt the entries back on the retake, and the only man to survive it all is Yell. He was the last in from Catwalk, so he'll look to keep his weapon, wins the duel versus Nifty, and these other Ts aren't going to come his way. Team EnVy, 4-0.
4-0, quick one. And we have to be honest, and INTZ looked sketchy yesterday. They had some good rounds, a couple, or 1 good map, and a map and a half of maybe good play, but in spots looked totally discombobulated and totally relied on KNG and a lot of individual skill to be able to bail them out of situations. So EnVy's Dust2, I think, doesn't actually rely that heavily on individual skill. There's a lot of moving pieces, and we know that they have comfortable spots because they're fragging. I think that's a good sign that the players themselves are comfortable in their positions. INTZ are going to call attack timeout here, the first of the half, as EnVy move into a buy up, but the recycled guns will matter. INTZ will go ahead and purchase 2 more and put together a buy for themselves. We'll also see an op for the first time this match, and not only 1. We'll see 2 ops for the first time this match as KNG and Yell combine in their efforts to stop the momentum of EnVy. Nice round here from Colors. We can see the 3-piece. We were on the perspective of Goose, but he was going in from the back of single box. Fast cat boost. KNG takes the lead. So many ways for him to work this pick if he wants to go for it. JDM has kind of secured long control. Don't know how fast he got out. And even if he has the best spawn, he has to be wary of the fact that the best spawn from the CTs could have crossed a pit. But in professional CS, you don't often see a CT run out with the best spawn and cross a pit dry. So him not hearing flashes might help them lead out to long. Drone goes ahead and takes KNG's face off as he tries to push up Cat. Not alone, but without a boost and without awareness of lower. Cello's also up here, but he's in no man's land. I mean, he's got a teammate as well, but they're basically just waiting to hope someone jumps on an Xbox or at the back of short or lower tunnel, excuse me, to see if he can score a kill, and they're willing to take that risk because it's a 4v5.
Speaking of risks, INTZ, they're going to actually throw Destiny to the top of mid, and Team EnVy just skated by. These are the two players in the back of long are actually those from the tunnels, right? That big spawn flank has lent itself slightly in terms of timing, but Cello's so alone. And where's Destiny got off to? He's chosen the wrong direction. He's going to head towards Tons when he could have been behind EnVy on long, where Cutler picks up the headshot. Now you see him called back and drawn back into action. All the while, his team has gotten nothing done in this round. I mean, all of EnVy still with 100 health. There hasn't even been really a chance of a gun duel to the CT's favor here.
Absolutely wicked entry from Cutler, and also the first one from Drone was pivotal. Key player is the most important player on the CT side, we'll say it, is the CT opper on Car. Anybody, that guy, if he's roaming between Cat, Long, or Car, is going to be the most important point of rotate. He's going to be who everybody tethers off of on the CT side, whether they rotate or not. He's also going to be stopping Cat by himself. He's going to be assisting his teammate in holding Long. He's going to allow for 2-1-2 setups. So if he goes down for free like that, you know, you can call it quits, wrap it up, and try again tomorrow. There's now 3 saves out. They retain the double ops, which is nice for INTZ, but it's rounds at this point that is the biggest problem. EnVy secure another round and make it look clean. And my prediction for this event was that EnVy, as loose as they are and as little practice as they've gotten, would get so much better as the days roll on because they've got lots of LAN experience between the 5 of them, and they have a super strong IGL who is great at calling loose at the helm. And so now we might be seeing that come into play. Can't sleep on INTZ, however. We've seen them wake up late here into round 6. And INTZ will try something different. 3 players out to long. 4th man back is throwing nades so that they can peek safely. But EnVy haven't run head first into this. Instead, they're going to take their time. They're going to respond to the smoke. I don't know if they can see past the crack, but this will cost Destiny's life. The flash goes a little bit far, and Drone comes out for the initial trade, but it's not good enough. The perfect spot from Destiny there to just go right in front of the flash. It was a perfect pop, but it was meant to cover people who were holding just outside of the long tunnel and not just right in front of the door.
Yeah, just kind of barrel stuffs them, get as close as could be. The icing on the cake for INTZ, of course, is bomb is thrown out as well. So we've got EnVy with a minute here to try and cut back the numbers. If they can put middle into question, if they can get a kill from, say, Catwalk to the A site, then there's still something to play for here. Or even just the fact that this is the first time we've had the CTs with really any early advantage.
Nifty's going to take a duel out mid. He has posted up, but Zand is hidden at the moment. So he's going to fall back out, and they need to secure the bomb, which is the most difficult part. In terms of utility, they have 3 smokes to do it. They can make a snake.
Yep.
Make a smoke snake.
Could put that wall right here on the top of Yell, then isolate the fights versus the players inside of Pit. Or do they dry creep it? Thing is, Yell has this off angle. Will fall back as smoke plumes. 20 seconds left over. Nifty starts to bring back these numbers. Cannot manage Cello. JDM's waiting for the smoke to fade as he does have a teammate clearing Pit itself, but no, they have come to a standstill. 1 casualty there versus Destiny, and it's nothing else to the favor of EnVy.
Big round from Destiny, huge reason they were able to win, and with bomb control, you gotta, you gotta do a lot to get that back, and the other team really has to mess up. So EnVy cannot capitalize. I think though, if they got back to the bomb with like 40 seconds left, and the setup hadn't changed much for INTZ, they could have rocked it back to Cat, or actually taken the bomb and then waited to reaggress long, so the rotates would actually thin out a little bit. But they didn't have enough time to do that, and instead, INTZ will take the round cleanly. JDM going out for another long pick. He's gotten this spawn a few rounds in a row, but they haven't seen it. This time they come out and Destiny goes down early. That's a big find. 4 players up from the CTs. KNG kind of just picking on Cat where he can fall off in a CT, fall back to Car. And his supporting players, Yell playing mid B and Cello, just watching long somewhat passively. Initial pick goes the way of INTZ, untraded, but they'll cross Cat off the back of it.
Yeah, and KNG, well, he's kind of limited in the sense that he has to play spawn. Didn't get the opportunity to fall all the way back to the corner. So sure, EnVy lose a player for free. There was no flashbang to support that. JDM was meant to peek with his teammate and get that trade frag, but KNG, too hot on his feet, managed to fall down faster than the frag could be traded. Zand, obviously wary of a potential lurk out. We have seen Nifty quite actively inside of the tunnels, whether late round or early.
Another situation where they don't have a suitable retake setup. They're all coming through CT spawn. Look at this molly to threaten them. They don't have to see that they're there to go for these picks.
Right. Cutler even catches Zand, so now the kills begin to trickle in. We will get a bit of a response, and that could problematically push the CTs back into a retake. You could see them hesitate and think about it. 2v2 has to be tempting as you're already down by 4, but they're gonna let this one slide. And KNG, distracted by the man in mid, loses his op. Cutler doing additional damage at the end of it, and that is an immediate reset with 1 survivor. Thank goodness for the CTs that 4 survived in the previous round.
Definitely not a kill that you can give up at the end of the round. Another tack pause will be called for INTZ, 2 remaining in the half. And it's no surprise that they are going to want to try to think about this, as there's 2 players on 2K. We'll have a drop potential from Yell. They could go single op setup if they want to. KNG can take care of himself, and Cello can just go ahead and buy a nade set. I think they just want to discuss how they go for the opening kill, which is the focal point of the conversation on CT side. There's a lot of aggressive options. There's a lot of safe ones as well, whether it's just taking long control and hoping the T's come out towards you, pushing up Cat and doing a boost to try to catch a lower default, or going for something a little bit more unorthodox like an upper B push or what have you. But all of those options, something needs to be explored on CT side. You don't just really sit in sites. That's not how Dust2's A site is played. JDM looking for the pick on the cross. He does get the leg off. A low pick would have killed him, but, you know, rare to see them try that.
It's the first time we've actually seen EnVy hit this B bomb site, and it comes at a cost in terms of health. Look at that. 3 players substantially tagged up. Destiny's going to attempt to get in behind them. Very wary of JDM being here, and does predict it right. Can it be traded? Not yet. JDM has help from Nifty. EnVy plant the bomb with 2 survivors for INTZ, and one of which was Yell tagged early. So that AWP very valuable. And so is this round. EnVy just pummeling their way into the B bomb site. We had seen them fall victim before as that attempt, but this time, no.
The most basic strategy into B, where you have an op pick, the cross, and then even though he doesn't get the kill off, he spots both players who cross, and maybe he knows he did a bit of damage. And then 4 players just run because they have a great spawn. They run through a Molotov, but it's kind of a newborn Molotov, and it doesn't do full damage. 3 of the players take 20 or so damage apiece, and then the AUG sprays wildly and almost gets all 3 kills. But obviously you favor the 3 kills that are peaking, even if they are all getting melted fairly quickly.
Right.
Ultimately, them not getting a kill is really sad. INTZ certainly deserved 1 at least, but that wouldn't have won them the round anyways. So another round over, 7-1 for a Team EnVy, and a great hold here in the afterplant. Good awareness in tunnels, great couple of kills from JDM to both stay alive and find 2.
Double op saved.
Double op saved, that's big, strengthens the eco somewhat dramatically. 2 players from EnVy going into lower, and it's a standard default out from the T's. The CTs also haven't done anything that interesting to try to find a kill. They have been aggressive on Cat more than once and more than at one timing, but will they expect Cello to now push after this player at mid has been spotted?
Ooh, JDM's head. Almost shot at Cello. Not going to find anything here. Kerrigan's actually managed a double kill. So the 2 players up catwalk, meant to corral them towards KNG, have now created an open route for the bomb to go push A.
You know, I really like the ferocity. I think just the high tempo and just pushing when they need to. I think the #1 thing teams might do badly versus an opper like KNG is move too slowly. Just take their time,
right.
Open up too many options. I feel like being scared is the only thing that could really count against them. And it doesn't seem like EnVy are scared right now, which is a great sign for them moving forward. Again, this doesn't actually give them a spot in the major. This is just the first of 2 best-of-3s that they have to win to be able to get that. This is just so that they don't get eliminated. everything on the line for the loser of this series.
All right, we see those hops Yell.
Ooh, little hit marker as the smoke tags Yell.
Yeah, he's going to get pressured from tunnels. That flash comes in deep mid, so now he's going to be worried about somebody actually being there when they're all really in tons. Bomb's going to go off, securing the round. Can he keep this off? Seems so.
They've been fine at saving it. Somehow EnVy have been good at avoiding them too. Even when there's 2 saved, they haven't had a problem like getting opt in a default, right? And typically when that'll happen, we'll be here pointing out, oh, this is how they lost the opening kill. Oh, this is how they lost the other kill. And then they couldn't come back into it. But EnVy have done a great job not dying in these rounds, making sure to get into the executes before identifying where the ops are, or as they identify it, without actually putting themselves at risk. Aggressive op picks have come out from long on both sides. KNG goes for a second one, but the chain flashes are strong enough to push him back. And now he'll need a teammate to either get boosted or fall back through CT. But that's definitely the worst of the 2 adjustments. INTZ need to trade for map control here to make up for the fact that they lost long. If the cross smokes come out right now, INTZ are in no position to win this round.
Right.
Our number 7 man, is that Nifty? It can come up CAD and stop them from rotating through mid.
I remember the last time we saw EnVy hitting this A site, your first words were, this is not a good retake position. So with that in mind, we'll see if they can change it up. Cello, he's got support over. It's really KNG, the first man to possibly take a player down. Gets the assist with Zan, just over here exposed by his side. Cello peeks wide, does damage versus 2. Can he clear the kills? Absolutely. Bomb, at least delayed, but it is JDM standing with Nifty. You look to these 2 in particular as kind of the spotlight fraggers. And they are going to have a pinch coming in from both Catwalk and Ramp. There's the first duel one. Nifty peeks out, and JDM, perfect timing. Good work in unison here from Team EnVy, at least able to cut this down into even ground. 2v2 with a plant, and they can even fall back Cat.
Ridiculous. Those were the 2 players on the site. They needed to pull the hold off, and none of the other CTs even thought about rotating. Now we have Yell coming out long, but it's EnVy in certainly the power position. KNG will throw a smoke to try to segregate these 2 fights. Actually quite wise of him. The smoke bounce is odd though. This actually might play into JDM's favor. And look at that, Nifty comes out mid to flank him. Wow. All of the info this round.
Sure though, Yell will get himself at least 1 foot in the door. Catching Nifty back on mid and then ejecting. Doesn't have the defuse kit, just wants to move that op for the what seems like 3rd or 4th round forward. Can he make it? Yes, sir. Anticipates JDM's attempt at an exit. 10 rounds deep, and EnVy again successful on that A site, having hit it either in the mid or early round 9 out of the 10 that we've seen so far.
He's only died 3 of these 10 rounds. That's Yell. He saved this off over and over again, which is great. I mean, that's good. They can rebuy. He can always have money for himself if he needs to buy something else. He can also drop this op whenever he wants to KNG, but that's just not enough for INTZ to be competitive in this game. That was such a round that was handed to them by EnVy.
Yep.
Honestly, a really bad long exec from them, as they had enough time to throw smokes but decided to peek it dry, and maybe they weren't expecting INTZ to be in CT spawn, hopping the cross. Maybe not expecting for them to be in these like kind of like insuperior or weak positions to hold versus a long take, but they were there. And they could have just cross-log and then isolated Cello on the site. They decided not to do it. I don't know. I don't know. And then still, I mean, the 2v2 was great. The 2v2 was really well played.
The 2v4 as well.
2v4, sorry. The first 2 kills are really well played.
Yeah, I mean, when you said inferior, I think that's what you meant.
Thank you.
Positions on the long execute. I think the same thing in that 2v4. Look at the way that the Catwalk push had those 2 CTs behind their boxes so exposed. And no control on mid during those moments for INTZ, even despite having doubled the amount of players. So just pistols this time, plus Yell's op, as said, moved forward from a previous round. But good job by Drone. He just wins the duel versus an opper off his AK. But Cutler's separate. Destiny's going to go ahead and challenge close. These weapons are pretty sporadically placed around the map. Cutler, good job. That's the insurance policy here. Drawing Int back in from mid. They do have 2 guns for the remaining members with Kevlar and a kit. JDM should have this sectioned off. We'll have bomb work its way out long, 2 smoke grenades, and plenty of flashes as well in this recipe for the A play.
Not surprised for INTZ to sit where they are. They're fast rotate between both sites. They saw last round that EnVy didn't smoke the cross and went for it, so they can hope that this happens again. maybe spot a gap in these two smokes, as teams oftentimes don't throw these well. And they go ahead and try to do it with one. Okay, there it is. The second one comes out. KNG almost hits a fantastic timing shot. I just combined the two oppers' names.
You're splicing them.
Yeah, spliced them. Speaking of splice. Anyways. Zand and KNG on the retake up Cat. KNG's got a kit, but they don't have nades.
Yeah, it's going to be that much more difficult. And now with a Molotov as well for JDM, flashbangs potentially keep them back just like that. Blinded and dealt with. My God, it is Cutler. 4 frags for him. Obviously the 2 easy anti-ecos that opened up that A-bomb site to begin with.
No, but it's true. That was the insurance policy, as you pointed out. That was so important that he got those kills. And oftentimes, you know, a pistol, if they know exactly where the person is around the corner, it's not that far away, they're going to swing out faster. You know, the F1 race car peek out long, they could have definitely killed him and made this round a whole lot harder. So it was really good. Cutler hits the clean headshot on the second one. And Cello's one to be good with pistols. That was a nasty last flick on that one tap. So, end to one.
Drone just completely back turned, flashes
trust him.
all over the place, and he's dead.
Tries to go for it.
Here's another one from Zand. In fact, a 3K. It's going to be Cello now coming up from pit, dropping bombs. So here we go. INTZ have found a solution to locking down A.
Not every time EnVy have, not every round, it's that EnVy have gone out long. There's been a bunch of CTs there. Sometimes they get flashed off. Sometimes the CTs come in for an op pick and then fall off. So you can't really blame EnVy for trying it again, but what an outstanding performance from Zand to get those 3 kills with the AUG. I mean, it's about time we saw some AUG kills in this game.
It's about time we saw a heavy CT stack like that as well on long. You know, we've had KNG kind of floating around with that AWP, maybe a flash support back from Carr, but I'm talking deep down on the pit, platform as well with the rifles, and not necessarily scared off by the flurry of flashbangs thrown out by EnVy.
We did see 2 other rounds where they did like heavy long control, but there was no fight because EnVy didn't go for it. So they tried it, they just picked the wrong times to do it. But read it properly.
I think one of those times was, in fact, when JDM lost the op duel. Like, he was the first to die, and then EnVy immediately fell off. This is a time where they very clearly committed. I mean, Drone absolutely committed. Back turn until he gets towards pit. So, yeah, it works out for INTZ.
Standard default here for Team EnVy. Into lower with the bomb. Standard push off of Cat once again for INTZ. I don't know if KNG saw that or if he had the inkling that someone might go for a boost, but this would be another round where EnVy find an easy 5v4. They've been able to stop these Cat pushes almost every single time. If they back up slowly enough, it feels like they have the advantage on being able to see a helmet, and Cello is not shying away from the fight.
I don't know if that's just our spectator outline. I thought I could see the mushroom cap stepping over the top. However, here we go. Cello, he's flashed forward. Great 2 kills. Does stop that initial Cat setup. Could be very wary of the players down beneath because there is most certainly T's. Oh, here ready to fight. Deep Molotov behind them will cost some of their health, and it actually evacuates them entirely.
This is interesting. The EnVy trade for long control. So a good push, and they've got the 4v3. But look, they come to reclaim long, and there is a 1 CT who's made his way to Carr. But that's Cello, and he'll continue his rampage.
Yeah, here we have it. You know, a little bit of individual prowess. Ooh, baby.
Oh!
Nifty.
No,
Swiftly
not like this, dude.
Dropping a couple headshots.
Dude.
How about a third? Comes in from Catwalk just like he did when it was him and JDM clutching in that 2 versus 4. And Launders, what do you know? It's another 2 versus 4.
What's the difference between that and just some other individual duel? It's just how little wasted movement there was with this crosshair. Nifty put 3 players to sleep, barely used any ammo, barely moved his crosshair, never overshot, and that's the kind of precision that he got signed up for.
Damn.
Unreal. What a round.
Gets them all in the end. 4 frags for him. I was just about to say, you know, it's going to take some individual work. We saw Zan's 3K on long. We saw Cello's 3K this time. It was thinking INTZ were warming up. That things were starting to click and gel, but nothing clicks more than Nifty. Straight through the heads of these first 2.
Look at this. Not overflanking at all. Just perfect clearing of all of the angles. There it is. Again, not a single pixel swiped, right? Fell right into it. Wonderful stuff to watch. Outstanding highlight from Nifty. And another round that INTZ had in the bag. a strong cap push. They've tried it before. It had normally failed, but that time worked so well. Cello comes out of that round with 3 kills and 0 RWS. Sad state of affairs here for INTZ as they have to force 2 CZs, a Mag-7, and a couple of N4s. There's not even going to have these 2 ops that they've been able to surmise almost every single round.
We'll get aggressive towards middle, at least to open up shop. Kerrigan can trade, however.
Technically, this is the most volatile push that you can do, and it can work. It's not a bad thing to do, but as we saw, there's so many ways for the T's to trade, right? Middle is technically theirs.
Kerrigan then continues on, catching Destiny and dueling versus Yell. So these pistols have come to a close, and the Mag-7 falls at the very last push there from JDM's support over the shoulder. EnVy with 12. We're talking a 10-round lead here on the T side of Dust2. Not the first time we've seen them put up substantial numbers and kind of lock out a Brazilian roster. They did begin this entire minor versus Team 1 with a 16-3 victory, and they are on the same track today.
Last round of the half, round 15 of the first half. EnVy here on the T side, off to a screaming start, 12-2 at the moment, and it's a bunch of CZs on the board for INTZ. INTZZ.
Pop shots dealing the damage, not getting the kills just yet. JDM follows suit. No pressure at all. I mean, we're talking a 15th round where poverty has struck the heart of INTZ. 2 CTs pushing up middle, trying to trade frag, and they do cut off the bomb, so let's get weird. Or at least, maybe? No. Drone puts an end to the show. That's 13-2 for EnVy on their T side, folks. Could be a quick map. You'll have to stick around if you want to find out. We're going to take a break and see you with the second. EnVy's T-side seems unstoppable. They had opportunities, INTZ, but a couple of 2 versus 4, both of which including Nifty in the 10th and 13th rounds, really did leave us to this end result. So a pistol could very truly make the difference here. That's a missed Xbox smoke.
See, the missed Xbox smoke. Look at this. JDM can spot over top of it the entire time, and now he's not going to be totally exposed to lower. He's so aware of the thought that since they mess this up, they could spot the fake, goes out and gets 1 kill with the USP and does a ton of damage already on the second guy. Oh, last bullet headshot, and the Cutler from the back lines.
Who needs a P2K?
The split is shut down. Drone his only job is to peek every like 10 seconds to make sure they haven't run all the way through the tunnel, but not to die. And Nifty's on the big flank. Look at this. Oh my God. Are we going to get kill from this position? That would be the first time I've ever seen that. Catching someone flanking from B tunnels.
How close do you think he is right now to his monitor?
At what point do you think about knifing?
Right now. Okay. He'll drop that bomb. Stuck in spawn. KNG 1v5. Locked down at the distance. Drone's playing whack-a-mole. Vito knows he's being wrapped upon. So that's that. 13-2 half. Certainly going to be turning into a 16th round win as well.
We saw a spotty performance on Dust2 from EnVy as Team 1 gave him a run for the money and forced Cutler to go absolutely Super Saiyan and Drone to get that 3K at the end of the round, or at the end of the half, and JDM to hit his op shots and everything to pull it back. But ultimately, it was such a stark contrast to the original 16-3 they had versus them on Dust2. And here, they're off on the kind of the same pace to be able to do that again, this time to INTZ, which I think a lot of people would say is probably a bigger threat, though. I was more impressed with Team 1 than anything else compared to some of the rounds we saw yesterday between INTZ and Furia. But that being said, INTZ are the ones here today playing. They made it through to playoffs and made it a bit farther than their Brazilian counterparts. There's a force up, and I don't think EnVy will be surprised to see it. In fact, they have not bought any SMGs. Getting economy is not going to be a primary concern for them. Smoke comes out. Let's see how Drone reacts to this. It's understood that sometimes teams or CTs will come out to the right side of the smoke, but
he's going to throw himself in it just as the flashes soar past. Sees the man flying through the sky, and of course it's Nifty on rotation here to help. So Drone sprays down, does actually manage to get out of the gunfight as well. So many of these kills having assists with them too. So EnVy putting in work, putting in the damage from everybody there, and now that is overtime secured.
It's overtime secured, and they're postured up to take the 16-2. One of the most lopsided scorelines we've seen in any of the minors for a map. So this is really pretty big for their confidence.
What's wild is it's you know, another one of the most lopsided score was the 16-3 from EnVy on Dust2 as well, being versus Team 1. So it's not the first time they've been in this position.
Essentially a home map for them.
And if it's a sign of things to come in the rest of the series, if they can take this momentum and performance and transition it throughout the series, then we have some Brazilians in trouble.
Would love to get some extra content from Kerrigan as as things go on, just to see how he feels about the team. And it feels like a lot of them are very vocal. As you see, they were talking about on the desk. These guys talk a lot about what's happened, and some of it may be unproductive, maybe it's not. It's hard for us to tell. But ultimately, it's great to have a team that it doesn't just go straight emo after a game and doesn't talk about anything, and instead, discusses things openly and honestly.
And it's such a unique project as well. I can't, in my time, remember this ever really happening. An in-game leader from a top 5 team in the world going down into the depths of a North American minor, trying to, add whatever it is he does.
No, it was a crazy move.
Unprecedented.
Yeah, he was very kind of independent with that move.
Yeah, so it may be coming to a close here, folks. Kerrigan himself, speak of the devil, looking to support down spawn. KNG and Yell with a couple of kills, but it's that fast smothering rotation from Cutler that gets this one in the bag. Team EnVy 16-2, making moves here on Dust and closing out the very first map. Folks, we will be moving on to Train, where the Brazilians will look to bounce back. I wouldn't be shocked if they do so. It's one of those places where all of their players seem to shine, and not just KNG.